Hello, everybody, and welcome to an updated Survivor tier list for Risk of Rain 2. This is with all of the DLCs that are currently out, including the newest one, Alloyed Collective, and boom, here's the tier list. Jump scare right at the start of the video, completed tier list. That's all the info you wanted, right? Say hi to stream, by the way. Hi, stream. Hey, how you doing? Hi, YouTube. Hi, stream. Hi. Say hi to everybody. Be nice. Be nice. You might hear a fart or two in this video. That is because of stream. Okay, YouTube, I want you to be nice, be respectful, understand that this is stream's natural habitat. Okay, they're allowed to do it. They're allowed to express themselves. On the flip side, stream, you guys need to be respectful of YouTube. Okay? They're not used to your culture, your ways, if you will. Okay, everybody be respectful. Anyway, I'm wasting a lot of time. To be fair, I'm not wasting any time because I gave you the tier list right at the start of the video. That's your problem. You think I'm wasting your time because you got the whole tier. Anyway, so this is based on the consistency of each survivor because every survivor can get good runs. Obviously, if you get really good RNG, boom, it's going to blow through the run on pretty much everybody. So the consistency aspect is at what point do you really start to feel the impacts of having a mediocre and especially a bad run on a survivor? What point do you start feeling it? And I rank them based on like stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, and then pretty much you're just, you know, you can play the survivor's brain dead at the top tier. Oh my gosh, chat. That was like a perfect explanation, and there are like 10 fart noises over it. YouTube, you can't do that. You can't do it.
Oh boy. Now that is a good looking wiener.
So starting at the bottom, Heretic, not a real survivor. I'm not going to explain any further. No elaboration needed. Next up, low tier. So this is when you are going to feel the impacts of a bad run the most. And I really do think, if you really think about it, you play a lot of Risk of Rain 2, you're like, what? Multi is so much better than Commando. Is he though? Is he though? If you're having a mediocre run and especially a terrible run on both of these survivors, what are you doing? The exact same thing. You are tunnel visioning, praying, oh, please give me one bleed stack, please, just spamming your regular attack. Yeah, I guess you have more tools. When you're playing multi, you got like double rebar puncher, you know, you have a little bit of a different play style. But for the most part, you are doing the exact same thing. If you have a bad run, both of those survivors are equally just as bad as one another. You are, for all intents and purposes, an auto attack machine on both multi and commando, no matter what their loadouts are. And yeah, it's that simple. They're both like the lowest consistency survivors, in my opinion. The next, this took quite a while to get between, especially these two tiers right here, the high and the mids, but especially here in the mids. And I would rank these in order, by the way, inside of each tier. Like this is the best one in this tier. This is the worst one in this tier. And this took a while. So, starting with Mercenary, dude, Mercenary, you have to put so much effort into playing. It's insane. Like, you have to put the most effort of any survivor into learning how to play the Mercenary optimally and then actually executing it, right? That's a whole different factor. You can't just magically be playing at 100% optimal situations, 100%. Like, no one does that, right? Same thing here with Engineer, right? Like, you're not always going to have your turrets in the exact positions that they need to be 24/7. They're never going to take damage. Like, no, you're going to mess up. You're going to put a turret down as a Beetle Guard Sunder's coming in, blow up your turret. Point that I'm trying to make with the Mercenary is that you have to put in maximum effort both into learning the survivor and then actually executing the playstyle, which doesn't really matter depending on which loadout you do. I would say that his Slicing Winds loadout is a little more consistent, but that doesn't really change his overall ranking, and you're just getting like no benefit. Honestly, even if you play him 100% perfectly, you are still just like doing half as much damage as Loader and Railgunner, maybe even like 1/3 less. Like, it's insane. So unfortunately, as cool as the Mercenary is, he has tons of aura, tons of drip. As cool as he is, not very good. Moving on to the Captain, it's kind of the same situation as both Commando and Multi, where you're just a primary attack machine. Number one, his primary attack is just better, in my opinion. Number two, he has innate AoE with his utility skill. Number three, he has Microbots, his passive. Microbots has definitely come in clutch many times on the Captain. Not much better than these two, but definitely worth being a peg above them, if you will. Also, the beacons, the hacking beacons especially, you can get a legendary chest for free. If you get like a multi-shop and a regular chest, even like those two alone, saves you a bunch of time, especially on stage 1, stage 2. Hard to neglect those factors. Chef, I haven't played a ton of Chef. In fact, I only did, I think, 3 or 4 runs with him post the Seekers DLC changes. If you didn't know, with the initial release of the Seekers DLC, which is when Chef was first released, it was very bad. Like, it was just bad across the board, both the content of Seekers and the the survivors themselves. Oh my gosh, Chef was literally the worst survivor in the game. I'm happy to say that after the changes, he's actually pretty good, but he's still not quite up to par with the rest of the survivors here. You're definitely going to run into issues where you're getting swarmed by a bunch of enemies. You don't have great mobility. Yeah, his rolling pin is a little bit better than it was. Not a great mobility, but you do have AoE. You have innate AoE. That's pretty good. You can get some crazy one-shots in the early game on certain bosses. Just stand on top of them. Use your Yes Chef ability, your alternate R. Is that the default R? That's the alternate for sure. use your alternate special, and then like your cleavers just bam explode the boss instantaneously. It's pretty cool. More of a gimmick than anything. So I'd say it's pretty fair to put Chef in like the middle of the pack, if you will. All right, Rex. A lot of people are probably confused. The best thing to think about with Rex is that your HP is a resource. It's just a resource, right? Yeah, if it goes to 0, you die and you lose your run. But it's just a resource at the end of the day because Rex has so much health recovery, it's insane. Obviously, if you're playing on Eclipse 8, this is a completely different story. Rex on Eclipse 8 is pain. I think we can all agree with that. So if you get in a sticky situation on Rex, you just push your R out there, the default special roots them all into place, and then you press the alternate utility, get the heck out of there. You get a bunch of health back from doing that, and then you go back to spamming your default secondary. Just bam, bam, bam. The mortar is the default one. So much damage output on Rex. You have a very good healing on top of it, and as long as you're comfortable with your health bar ping-ponging back and forth, for the resource side of things, it's just going to be refilling and going down, refilling, going back down. If you're comfortable with that, Rex is a very strong survivor. If you're not, it definitely takes some getting used to, understandably, then yeah, you're going to have a hard time with Rex. So I think middle of the pack, again, mid-tier is pretty fair. Bandit is pretty solid, I would say. As a survivor, you do have to rely on your guaranteed crits, which you hit enemies from behind to get guaranteed crits, and he does struggle with flying enemies in particular. Now, Smokescreen is a very good utility skill. You can get 2 jumps worth of height, actually 3 jumps, I guess. The Smokescreen itself gives you a little jump, and then you can get an extra jump at the end of it as well, and then factor in your default base jump as well. He gets quite a good amount of vertical mobility, so you can take down like greater wisps, stuff like that. But there are certain times where you are really struggling on Bandit, getting surrounded by a bunch of lesser wisps, greater wisps, brass contraptions, Solos control units, Xi constructs. Oh my gosh, good luck Xi construct on the Bandit. But otherwise, he's just a solid survivor, very fast paced. Loves spamming his primary, getting all the attacks out. Engineer, I know it's probably a point of contention for a lot of people here. Just when you looked at the initial tier list, Engineer, yes, he's very strong. Obviously, if you get a lot of good items on Engineer, you're going to steamroll the game. However, your turrets are not up all the time. I don't know why I have to say this in the first place. Okay, your turrets are just not up all the time, and if they are up, they're not in an optimal place 24/7. You're going to make mistakes on playing everybody for that matter. So again, it's a question of consistency. Out of like 100 runs, when are you going to feel it the most? When are you going to feel the detriments of things the most? And with the Engineer, it's usually around stage 4. Now, I was debating putting him up here, chat, and I went back and forth quite a bit. But I think the highest mid-tier, again, this is the best survivor, quote unquote, in the mid-tier survivors. I think that's very fair on the Engineer, but no mobility is a massive downside. No inherent mobility on a survivor. I'm going to ban Kevin, by the way. Hold on, guys. I just got to ban Kevin real quick. Kevin 7 needs a ban real quick. Just 60 seconds. There you go. No inherent mobility on a survivor is a very big downside. And you cannot go without stating that. That is a gargantuan downside. But yes, if you get a good run going, of course, Engineer is going to snowball. But on the flip side, if you get a bunch of mediocre or bad items, guess what? Does nothing on the Engineer. You're going to be struggling. And now for the last 2 tiers. Again, these guys are going to experience the least amount of fall off, quote unquote, and then these guys basically experience no fall off whatsoever. I mean, they're just god tier survivors. I'll cover them in 1 second. First up, the Artificer. I was going to put Artificer down here in mid tier as well, but the more I think about it, she's just free. You take the Icicle for your secondary ability, your M2, the Ice Spear, just throw it out there. You get a 30% execute on everything. Pretty dang good. Ice Wall gives you a little bit of CC if you need it, but most importantly, you press the R button, you float in the air, and you just stay up there. You just float around. Nothing can really damage you. I mean, yes, you can still take damage. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of the enemies, a lot of the scary attacks in the game, you just nullify them by floating around in the air.
Boy, oh boy. Now that is a good-looking wiener.
And the best part is you can still dodge by simply letting go of your hover button. You're going to dodge something if you need to. Incoming projectile, big enemy to spawn next to you, whatever. Just fall a little bit. And then you hover again. And then if that doesn't work, guess what? Your R is probably back off a cooldown. Bam, you press your R button again. You're back up even higher. You rinse and repeat over and over and over. That is why Artificer is up here in the highest, or the second highest, tier of consistency. Huntress. A lot of people are probably very confused about this as well. Huntress undoubtedly has the best mobility skill in the game. Triple blink is absurdly good. If you're in a sticky situation on the Huntress, you press your blink button, it's up every 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's basically negligible. And whenever you need to blink, you can blink on Huntress. So think about it like that. Yes, she has like no damage output. Glaive is actually a pretty good ability. The Ballista is unfortunately necessary. Arrow Rain is just garbage. Don't even think about it. But Ballista is just a necessary way to proc your bans on a single target. Glaive is actually pretty solid. But yeah, Huntress has very low damage output. Definitely item reliant. But you can make the most of a mediocre and even a bad run at sometimes just by dodging everything. Like that is such such a good aspect of a survivor is how much mobility do they have, especially while in combat, not just like zooming around the stage at Mach 10, right? That's a different kind of mobility, which is still good. But in combat mobility, Huntress has the best by far. It's not even close. And that is why she's up here in the high consistency. If you know how to play the Huntress, you are just not going to take damage 90% of the time. It's that easy. Acrid. Acrid's kind of the antithesis to Huntress, the opposite. So you are just spitting your poison at everything. Percent max health damage. I believe it's 1% of the max health per second. You just spit on them. It's that simple. Okay. You just poison everything. Boom. You're done. Now, his mobility skill, if you mess up a leap, I believe it's an 8-second cooldown, I think. And if you mess one of those leaps up, my gosh, you're going to feel the impacts immediately. It's basically like Multi, right? Multi doesn't really have a mobility skill either with his transport mode. You hit a large enemy, you bounce off of them. Uh-oh, you're in the exact same spot as you were. Good luck. Same thing with Acrid. If you use your leap, you're going to hit something, or if you mess up by like 1 pixel, you like stub your pinky toe on the wall that you're trying to get over, you're going to fail the jump, and then all of a sudden, you're in the same situation you were. Aside from that, though, yeah, Acrid is very strong. Obviously, you just run in circles, poison everything. Your R spreads it to every enemy within a pretty large radius, and it's a really short cooldown on top of that. So whenever you need to poison something, it's available. Just poison it. It's a pretty free run aside from that. Next up, Operator, the new survivor with the Alloyed Collective DLC, or one of 2 new survivors. The best way to describe Operator is that there are really no downsides to playing Operator, but there aren't really any major upsides either, right? He has good damage, good mobility, has pretty good AoE. Sometimes it's a bit iffy, especially if you're using the alternate special, the big grenade that expands and explodes. It's kind of hard to like tunnel vision on that sometimes and make sure you're hitting it for the massive explosion. But for the most part, Operator is very solid as a survivor. Obviously, being in the second highest tier, pretty solid. It's just there's nothing super insane about playing the Operator, unlike the other new survivor with the DLC, which we'll get to in one moment. Last but not least, the Void Fiend. I think the Void Fiend, you can make an argument for being up in the highest tier, extreme consistency. But if you're not really experienced with Void Fiend, it takes some getting used to, for sure. Like his kit, number one, he's kind of boring, honestly. Like a lot of these survivors, regardless of their rank, like their fun factor is entirely separate. I think Void Fiend's fun factor is pretty low, in my opinion, just my opinion, but I think Void Fiend's kind of boring. That being said, his kit is very powerful. It's just generically powerful. It's kind of like Operator, right? Void Fiend doesn't really excel at any one thing, but he also doesn't really have any detriments that are like massive glaring red flags. He has great mobility. Actually, it's kind of debatable. Great mobility. I don't like his utility. That's like one of the reasons I don't play the Void Fiend is his utility skill. But the reason why I have him here at the highest of the second highest tier, right under the bottom tier, is because I think the new Seeker just edges out. Right? He just edges out the Void Fiend. And that's why she's in the lowest of the extreme tier here, which I guess we'll get up to here now. Seeker. The new Seeker is very, very, very strong. Seeker was already a very good survivor, but with the rework to her, especially her Tranquility, or her Meditate, Tranquility is her passive where you get 7 stacks, get bonus stats. Meditate now does so much damage in a very, very large area. It's like the entire teleporter radius. That's basically the area of your Meditate when you're at maximum Tranquility stacks. On top of that, you get a free revive. Now, that's not like the greatest thing ever, right? Getting a Dio's best friend is not going to save a bad run, right? You're still going to die. Then you just have an extra time to die before you lose your run, right? It allows you to play very recklessly, but it's not like a core part of why Seeker is very strong. The real reason the balls, which is your alternate secondary, are extremely powerful in combination with Sojourn. Balls and Sojourn, which is the main reason she was powerful before, they're as good as ever. You get insane barrier, and that does mitigate the damage over time that you're inflicting to yourself with Sojourn. And if you get like 1 or 2 repulsion armor plates, you're basically negating the entirety of Sojourn anyway. Or not all the time, but for the first like 10 seconds, 15 seconds of flight, you just spin in a circle for free. You get a decent explosion, and then you meditate, bam, blow everything up. Seeker feels very good. She already felt good. Again, now she feels extremely good. Next up, Loader. Honestly, I don't know. You could make the argument for Loader being up here. The more experience you have with the Loader, the better she is. But even if you have very minimal experience with the Loader, it's very hard to mess her up.
Damn.
So, you punk, Perry. It's very hard to mess her up at the end of the day. You definitely can do it. Don't get me wrong. But if you have even the tiniest bit of experience, you played her like 3 times, you're like, all right, grapple hook off the tree, you can swing around this way and get the momentum. I get it. The way I like to think about this extreme tier here is that how good are these survivors if you turn your brain off, right? If you just turn your brain off entirely, you just like monkey all over your keyboard, how good are you going to be? I think Seeker probably is going to be the worst out of them. Loader is the next up because, if you miss your punch, or if you don't, one-shot the enemies, all of a sudden you gotta loop around, make sure you get it again, boom. But for the rest of these guys, the Drifter, the Railgunner, and False Sun, by the way, turning off your brain, you still have to hit your shots. I'm sorry, like turning off your brain doesn't mean you literally spaz out on your keyboard, have a seizure, and you can't hit your shots. For these 3 survivors, I think these guys are almost in a tier of themselves. Like, I know that's kind of controversial, especially the Loader, right? The Loader is the Loader. She's been a top 2 survivor since she was released all the way back in Skills 2.0 of Early Access, which was, what year was that? It was 2019. It was September 2019. It was my birthday. Did it come out on my birthday? Yo, I think Loader released on my birthday. September 17th. Look it up. September 17th, 2019. Look it up. I'm really struggling here, by the way, to articulate why these survivors are in this order. Again, I would say, like, this is the best in extreme tier, this is the worst in extreme tier. But honestly, for this tier, you could make the case, put these guys in any order. I do think these are the best survivors in the game. Like, you ask any experienced player, they're probably going to mention at least 4 out of 5 of these survivors here as, like, the best. And it's kind of hard to articulate exactly why, but Drifter, again, the other new survivor with the Alloyed Collective DLC, Drifter's insane. Like, you can actually turn your brain off, spam your keyboard, like, spill milk on your keyboard, start wiping it off, trying to clean it off. That's how you're playing the Drifter, and you'll get a good run. Like, you don't have to think. Doesn't matter what loadout you take on Drifter. Same thing with Operator, by the way. Both of Operator's loadouts are very good. Drifter, just turn your brain off, play it, you have a good time. Railgunner, obviously, big asterisks here. You can't really make an asterisk. Big asterisks on the Railgunner. Hit your shots. If you don't know how to aim, if you don't have a lot of experience playing FPS games, you're going to struggle immensely on the Railgunner. As soon as you can aim, though, Railgunner's free. It's ranged loader. What's the worst that could happen? And then I think, without a doubt, False Sun is the best survivor in the game. Without a doubt. We might even need to make a False Sun tier. False Sun is absurdly good. You get very high base stats, probably the highest base. I haven't looked on the wiki in a long time again, but I think you have the highest base stats of any survivor in the game. You have the growth mechanic, so any food item, any extra HP rather that you get additional stats, not only health, but other stuff as well, because all your other abilities synergize with growth. And then you can just spam all of your abilities. The optimal way to play False Sun, actually, is to just spam everything, right? Because the more secondary charges that you use, the more stats you get, the more movement speed and health regen, all this stuff, the stuff you're going to need while you're in combat, right? Movement speed to dodge everything, and then health regen when you do take damage to recover it. And then your special is just insane, because it does a lot of damage. It recovers, by the way. And then your special is crazy as well, because it does a lot of damage, no matter if you're using the charge-based one or the instant shot, and then it recovers your secondary charges whenever you use the special. You use your special, refills your secondary, go back to spamming. It really is that simple. And then, also your primary attack does, I think, 1,000% damage. Yeah, just casually. It just does 1,000% damage in a very large area. Don't worry about it. So yes, I think without a doubt, the best survivor in the game currently is the False Sun. I don't really see that changing for the time being. Yeah, I think that's about it. Again, you can get a good run on any survivor. Obviously, do not let this list dissuade you from playing whoever you want. Probably should have said that at the beginning of the video. Oh well. But play whoever you want. You can get good runs on absolutely everybody. This is just for if you want to actually think about, okay, in the vast majority of situations across, 100 different runs, who's the best? This is probably who it's going to be. Again, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. Thank you for watching. Very much greatly appreciate it. Check out my stream, twitch.tv/WoolieGaming, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!